In a bustling world of power and wealth, where status is everything and money opens any door, there lived a billionaire who seemed to have it all: success, influence, and a lavish lifestyle envied by many. But beneath the surface, his life felt hollow, and he couldn't shake the sense that something was missing. One day, he crosses paths with a young woman who is as unassuming as she is genuine, a striking contrast to his fast-paced, often superficial world. She's grounded, sincere, and untouched by the pursuits that typically drive people in his circle. Little does he know that this encounter will change his life in ways he never anticipated, setting him on a journey to discover what truly matters. The story begins with Alexander, a man whose life is filled with luxury and privilege. As a billionaire, he's accustomed to a lifestyle that many can only dream of, a life where the world opens its doors to him simply because of his name. Yet, in a crowded room filled with laughter, clinking glasses, and the murmur of well-dressed guests, Alexander feels disconnected. This evening, he's attending a high-profile charity event, a common affair for someone of his status, but he attends less out of genuine interest and more out of a sense of obligation. His life, defined by high-stakes business deals, expensive acquisitions, and an endless cycle of social events, has started to feel like a routine of emptiness. As he wanders through the sea of familiar faces, his gaze falls upon someone unexpected. Standing at the edge of the room, dressed modestly in a simple dress, is a young woman he's never seen before. She looks out of place but not self-conscious. She carries herself with an authenticity that seems almost foreign in this room. She's quietly engaged in conversation with a small group, listening intently, her face lighting up as she smiles warmly. Alexander is struck by her presence, and he's surprised by his own reaction. In a world where everyone he meets seems to be trying to impress, she is refreshingly genuine, uninterested in gaining anyone's approval. Intrigued, Alexander finds himself moving closer, unable to resist the pull of her presence. Eventually, their paths cross, and Alexander takes the chance to introduce himself. She introduces herself as Emma, and from the very start, their conversation is different from any he's had in a long time. Alexander is accustomed to discussions centered around wealth, connections, and influence, but Emma's questions are simple and thoughtful. She asks him about his passions, his interests, and what drives him, questions that catch him off guard. For the first time in years, he finds himself talking about things other than business or investments. Their conversation flows naturally, and Alexander can't help but admire her sincerity. Emma isn't impressed by his wealth or status. She's more interested in his perspective and values, and the feeling is refreshing. As the evening progresses, Alexander learns more about her. Emma works at a small bookstore, a quiet job that gives her a sense of purpose. She finds joy in simple things: reading, spending time with friends, and being part of her community. For her, life isn't about striving for the next big achievement. It's about finding meaning in each day. Alexander is captivated, but he's also puzzled. How could someone so grounded and unassuming be so content? Her lack of ambition by his standards isn't a flaw. It's an admirable quality that he finds himself drawn to. In his world, people constantly chase after more, but here is someone who seems to have enough simply by being herself. Over the following days, Alexander can't stop thinking about their conversation. He reflects on his life and the hollow feeling that's become his constant companion. He begins to wonder if there's more to happiness than material success, and if, maybe, just maybe, he's been looking in the wrong places all along. Inspired by Emma's perspective, he decides to take a bold step. He reaches out to her with a proposition. He suggests they spend a week together, each exploring the other's world. Alexander wants her to see what his life is like, hoping she might come to appreciate it. Emma, intrigued but cautious, agrees on the condition that he'll spend time in her world as well. And so, with this unique arrangement in place, they embark on a journey that neither fully understands, but both sense will be transformative. Alexander arranges for Emma to accompany him to his office, taking her through his daily life of high-stakes meetings and luxury. As they walk into his towering office building, Emma is overwhelmed by the grandeur. The marble floors, glass walls, and breathtaking views are unlike anything she's experienced. But instead of being fascinated, she observes it all with a quiet detachment, seeing past the gloss and grandeur. Alexander notices her reaction and, for the first time, feels self-conscious in his own environment. The day progresses with meetings and business calls, during which Emma quietly observes. She's polite and attentive, but it's clear that she's not overly impressed. She sees how Alexander's colleagues and employees speak with reverence and even fear around him, their words carefully chosen. Alexander, who's always prided himself on his leadership, suddenly feels a pang of discomfort, realizing that respect for his position doesn't necessarily translate to respect for him as a person. Emma's presence in his world sheds light on things he hadn't considered before. In her simplicity, she's revealing parts of himself that he'd long buried under ambition and success. In the evening, Alexander takes her to a lavish dinner with his associates, where they're served the finest dishes and entertained in a way most people could only dream of. But once again, Emma's reaction is far from what he expects. She enjoys the food, but focuses more on the conversations around her. She notices the strained smiles and the underlying tension in his associates' laughter. When one of Alexander's friends makes a condescending remark about ordinary people, Emma catches Alexander's eye, and he sees her discomfort. Her gaze is gentle but probing, as if she's asking him if he truly belongs in this world of pretense and facades. Alexander begins to feel a shift within himself, an unsettling but honest realization that his life isn't as fulfilling as he once believed. The external success, the admiration, the privileges, they've all come at a price. With Emma there, someone unspoiled by wealth or ambition, he starts to see the emptiness lurking beneath his achievements. And as the night ends and they part ways, Alexander feels something he hasn't felt in years. A genuine desire for change, for something deeper and more meaningful than anything his wealth could buy. The following day, Alexander agrees to step into Emma's world. He meets her at the bookstore where she works, a small, cozy shop tucked away on a quiet street. The air is filled with the earthy scent of old books, and the place feels worlds apart from his opulent surroundings. When he arrives, Emma is helping a young boy find a book, patiently listening as he describes his favorite story. Alexander watches, intrigued by her warmth and attentiveness. She seems to know her customers well, greeting each one by name, asking them about their day, and genuinely engaging with them. Her world is simple, but it's infused with a sense of purpose and connection that Alexander rarely experiences. As he spends the day observing Emma at work, Alexander notices the subtle beauty in her everyday interactions. A regular customer, an elderly woman, stops by, and Emma warmly offers to help her find a particular novel. They chat for a moment, laughing together as if they've been friends for years. The bookstore is more than just a place of business for Emma. It's a community. To her, each person matters, and the time she spends with them is precious. There's no rush, no hurry to move on to the next task. Each interaction is given full attention, a quality that Alexander finds foreign but strangely appealing. At one point, Emma asks him to help her stack a few books, handing him a small stack. He's hesitant at first, unsure of how to fit in this setting that feels so foreign to him, but Emma's friendly encouragement helps him relax. As they work side by side, he feels something he hasn't felt in years, the simple joy of a shared task, free from pressure or expectation. He realizes that there is fulfillment in these moments that don't come from wealth or accomplishment, but from connecting with others in a genuine way. Later, Emma takes him to a modest cafe nearby where she often spends her afternoons. The place is quaint, filled with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, and Alexander can't help but notice how different it feels from the high-end restaurants he's used to. As they sit at a small wooden table, Emma orders her usual, a simple coffee, and a pastry. Alexander follows suit, and as they sip their drinks, Emma talks about her life, her passions, and her belief in finding beauty in the small things. She explains how she cherishes quiet moments like these, moments where she can slow down, reflect, and appreciate life. Listening to her, Alexander realizes how much he's missed out on by always striving for the next goal, the next big success. He's spent his life in a constant state of motion, but Emma's presence forces him to slow down and truly experience the moment. As she talks about the joy she finds in helping others and the satisfaction that comes from simply being present, Alexander begins to understand that there's a depth to life he's never explored. His wealth has provided him with countless luxuries, but it's also kept him insulated from the experiences that make life truly meaningful. The two continue their day together, walking through Emma's neighborhood. She introduces him to a few of her neighbors, people who greet her warmly and treat her like family. Alexander is taken aback by the genuine affection they have for her, realizing that these connections aren't built on status or wealth, but on kindness and respect. Emma's world is small but full of real relationships, something that his world, despite all its opulence, seems to lack. For the first time, he questions whether his life has been built on a foundation that truly matters. The next morning, Alexander wakes up feeling more contemplative than usual. The experiences from the day before have stirred something within him, a yearning for something he can't quite name. It's as if Emma's presence has opened a door to a part of himself he'd long forgotten. Determined to continue exploring this newfound perspective, he invites Emma to a charity event he's hosting, wanting her to see his life in a way that might bridge the gap between their worlds. Emma agrees, and that evening, she arrives at his estate, looking both nervous and curious. She's dressed in a simple, elegant outfit, a stark contrast to the lavish attire of the other guests. Alexander is struck by her authenticity. She stands out not because she's trying to, but because she's genuinely herself. As the evening progresses, Alexander introduces her to some of his business associates. Emma engages with them politely, but her reactions reveal her discomfort with the superficiality of the event. She observes how people's conversations revolve around wealth, power, and connections, and Alexander can see the sadness in her eyes as she realizes how different this world is from hers. At one point, Emma excuses herself and walks toward the garden outside, needing a moment of peace away from the crowded room. Alexander follows her, sensing her discomfort. As they stand together in the moonlight, Emma gently tells him how overwhelming this world feels to her. She explains that while she understands the importance of his work, she can't help but feel a disconnect. There's a part of her that believes true happiness isn't found in grand achievements or extravagant lifestyles, but in simple acts of kindness, compassion, and connection. Alexander listens, feeling an ache in his chest. He realizes that deep down, he's been aware of this truth all along. He's always known that his wealth couldn't fill the emptiness he feels, but he's been too afraid to confront it. Emma's words resonate with him on a level he can't ignore, and he feels an overwhelming sense of gratitude for her honesty. Her perspective challenges him, but it also inspires him, igniting a desire to change, to seek something deeper and more fulfilling. After the event, Alexander can't stop thinking about Emma's words. Her presence has awakened something within him, a longing for a life that isn't defined by wealth or status, but by meaning and purpose. He begins to question the choices he's made, the values he's upheld, and the priorities that have driven him. For the first time, he contemplates the possibility of living a life that isn't centered around his own success, but around something greater. Emma has shown him a glimpse of a world that's simple yet profound, and he can't shake the feeling that he's been given a second chance to find true happiness. In the following days, Alexander decides to spend more time with Emma, seeking out her company in ways he never anticipated. Their worlds are undeniably different, yet he finds himself increasingly drawn to her perspective, her values, and the calm that radiates from her. they explore the city together, often meeting in quiet parks or small cafes. She introduces him to simple activities he hasn't engaged in for years: feeding the ducks by the pond, browsing used bookshops, or simply walking through a quiet street. Alexander feels as if he's rediscovering the world through her eyes, seeing beauty and peace in places he once overlooked. One afternoon, Emma takes him to a community center where she volunteers on weekends. She helps organize donations, assists with food distribution, and spends time with the children who come from underprivileged backgrounds. Emma has a way of connecting with each person there, making them feel seen and valued, and Alexander is moved by the genuine love she pours into her work. He watches her as she kneels down to speak with a young girl who's holding a torn, well-loved teddy bear. Emma listens intently to the girl's story, treating her words with the utmost respect. The girl smiles, her face lighting up with joy as Emma gives her a small bracelet from her own wrist as a keepsake. As Alexander takes in the scene, he's struck by the realization of just how different Emma's world is from his. For so long, he's lived in a bubble of wealth, where problems are solved by money and interactions are transactional. Here, he sees a different reality, one where kindness, patience, and empathy are the currencies that matter. The children, the volunteers, and even the elderly people Emma assists all seem to rely on her not for material things but for the unwavering kindness she brings. Alexander feels a surge of admiration and respect for her, a respect rooted not in her accomplishments, but in the depth of her character. Throughout the day, Alexander finds small ways to contribute, helping Emma with the heavy boxes or lending a hand where he can. He's unaccustomed to this type of work, but he feels an unexpected sense of fulfillment in each small task. By the end of the day, he's exhausted but content, a feeling that surprises him. Emma thanks him for coming along, her smile warm and genuine. She tells him how much it means to her to share this part of her life with him, and he realizes he feels the same. As their friendship deepens, Alexander starts to reflect more deeply on his own life choices. He recognizes how driven he's been by ambition, constantly seeking validation through material success and societal status. But now, spending time with Emma, he begins to question if these pursuits have genuinely brought him happiness. He sees how content she is, not because she has everything, but because she has a sense of purpose, a life rich in relationships and compassion. Alexander realizes that his wealth has provided him with comfort, but it hasn't fulfilled him in the way he always hoped it would. One evening, after a long walk together, Alexander opens up to Emma about his past, his family, and the pressures he's faced as a successful businessman. He confesses that despite all he's achieved, he feels a sense of emptiness that he can't ignore. Emma listens patiently, her eyes filled with understanding. She doesn't offer any grand solutions or preach to him. Instead, she encourages him to explore his life with an open heart, to seek out the things that bring him joy and fulfillment beyond financial gain. Her words resonate deeply, offering a gentle reminder that life is not solely about achieving, but about experiencing and giving back. Alexander feels a shift within himself, a determination to approach his life from a place of authenticity and purpose. Inspired by Emma's example, he begins making small changes. He starts attending meetings at the community center regularly, offering his resources and connections to help expand their initiatives. Emma is delighted, watching as Alexander finds new meaning in these acts of service, no longer seeking recognition but genuinely wanting to make a difference. Over time, Alexander's priorities begin to transform. He finds himself taking a step back from the relentless pursuit of wealth, redirecting his energy toward meaningful causes and building genuine relationships. Emma's influence has given him the courage to pursue a life that's not only successful, but deeply fulfilling. Each day spent with her solidifies this shift, allowing him to reconnect with a part of himself he'd forgotten existed. He realizes that Emma hasn't just opened his eyes to a different way of living. She's helped him reconnect with his own humanity. And with each new day, He feels a deeper sense of gratitude for the unexpected path that led him to her. Alexander's transformation grows more evident each day, and it is through Emma's influence that he finds himself steadily embracing a life that's richer in purpose and connection. While he once spent his evenings at lavish galas or exclusive gatherings, he now finds joy in attending simple community events or spending quiet evenings with Emma. He begins to foster relationships with the people he meets through her, feeling a genuine connection and warmth that his previous interactions lacked. These people have little to offer him in terms of status or wealth, yet they give him something far more valuable: a sense of belonging and a renewed belief in human goodness. Alexander is deeply moved by the gratitude and resilience he observes in those who have faced hardships. Each story he hears humbles him, grounding him in ways he never anticipated. Emma continues to volunteer, leading Alexander to join her in her work with an open heart and a determination to make a meaningful impact. Together, they establish initiatives to support struggling families and create opportunities for the children she cares so deeply about. Alexander leverages his business acumen and resources to help expand the center's capabilities, investing not only his money but also his time. He begins developing programs for skill building and career guidance, hoping to give others the tools to build better futures. This experience is a profound turning point for him. Unlike his corporate projects, these endeavors feel deeply fulfilling and purposeful. He feels a connection to each person they're helping, recognizing that his contributions have the potential to change lives. During one of their community events, a young boy nervously approaches Alexander, clutching a handmade drawing that he's created as a thank you gift. The drawing depicts Alexander and Emma with the community center in the background. In that simple, heartfelt gesture, Alexander sees the ripple effect of his actions, the tangible impact he's making on these people's lives. As he looks at the drawing, his eyes mist over, realizing that this gift holds more meaning than any of the accolades he's received in his professional life. For the first time, he truly understands the joy of giving selflessly. As Alexander immerses himself in this newfound purpose, his relationships with his former social circle begin to shift. Many of his old friends don't understand the path he's chosen, and they question his decision to spend time and resources on people they view as beneath them. He faces criticism and confusion from those who once celebrated his success and enjoyed his wealth. The friends who once flocked to him for his fortune and influence are now distant, unable to comprehend his choices. Yet, Alexander finds himself surprisingly unbothered. Where he once might have felt pressure to maintain his image, he now feels a sense of peace. Emma's presence has taught him that true wealth lies in the relationships we build, the love we give, and the kindness we extend to others. One evening, as Alexander and Emma walk along a quiet beach, she shares her own dreams with him, her voice filled with excitement and hope. She reveals her vision of expanding the community center, creating a haven for people of all ages where they can find support, skills, and healing. She imagines a space with art workshops, counseling services, job training, and more. Alexander listens intently, inspired by her vision and moved by her unwavering dedication to helping others. He realizes that he wants to help her achieve this dream, not just as an investment, but as a legacy that reflects the values he's come to cherish. With Emma's encouragement, Alexander reaches out to his network, sharing her vision and rallying support for the community center's expansion. He's surprised to find that several influential individuals are moved by the project, willing to contribute not only financially but also with their skills and resources. What started as a small center blossoms into a multifaceted organization with resources for education, wellness, and social support. Emma and Alexander work side by side, witnessing the center's impact grow as it becomes a sanctuary for those in need. As their project flourishes, Alexander and Emma's bond deepens. Their shared commitment to serving others has created a foundation of respect, admiration, and love. Alexander sees Emma as more than his friend and partner. She is his inspiration, his grounding force, and the one who's shown him the true meaning of purpose. Emma's quiet strength and compassion have transformed his life in ways he could never have imagined. He realizes that the love he feels for her is not based on attraction alone, but on the admiration for her spirit and the belief that together they can make a profound difference in the world. One night, after a long day at the community center, Alexander finds himself overcome with emotion. He takes Emma's hands in his and thanks her for everything she's done for him, for showing him a path he didn't know existed, and for teaching him to see beyond himself. Emma smiles softly, telling him that he was always capable of this transformation. He just needed to open his heart. Their gaze lingers, a silent understanding passing between them. In that moment, Alexander knows that he's found something far more precious than wealth or status. He's found a love rooted in mutual purpose and respect. The community center becomes a beacon of hope, and Alexander is reminded every day of the lives they've touched. He feels a sense of fulfillment that far surpasses anything he's ever felt in his business ventures. Emma's influence has reshaped his perspective, allowing him to experience life with a heart open to love, service, and gratitude. Alexander no longer sees himself as a wealthy man defined by material success. Instead, he is someone who has discovered the power of compassion, the strength in humility, and the joy of giving back. Emma continues to inspire him, her unwavering faith and dedication to others serving as a constant reminder of the path they now walk together. They dream of expanding their work even further, reaching more communities, and creating opportunities for those who feel forgotten. For Alexander, each day is a testament to the transformative power of love and purpose, and he is endlessly grateful for the journey that led him to Emma and the life they now share. In the end, Alexander knows that his life has been forever changed, not by wealth or status, but by the love and selflessness of a woman who showed him a world beyond his own. He stands alongside Emma, not only as a partner in their work, but as a man who has been redeemed by love, purpose, and the unwavering strength of the human spirit. Their journey together is far from over, but he embraces each moment, grateful for the second chance he's been given to live a life of meaning and love. The day finally arrives for the grand opening of the expanded community center, a project that has been months in the making and a labor of love for both Alexander and Emma. The center is more than a building. It's a sanctuary for the vulnerable, a space for growth, healing, and empowerment. As Alexander and Emma stand side by side, looking over the newly refurbished space, a wave of emotion hits them. The once humble center has transformed into a place filled with vibrant rooms, classrooms, and counseling areas. There's even a garden space where people can gather, a playground for children, and workshops dedicated to teaching practical skills and arts. The community gathers to celebrate, and Alexander feels a deep sense of accomplishment. This time, however, it's not tied to his financial success, but to the lives that will be changed and the futures that will be brightened because of this center. As people walk through the doors, families who had nowhere to turn now find open arms welcoming them. Alexander watches a single mother clutching her child's hand as they step into a warm, supportive environment for the first time. He sees young people who once faced limited opportunities now being offered guidance and mentorship. His heart swells as he observes the hope in their eyes, understanding that this place will be a stepping stone toward their dreams. The community members express their gratitude, coming up to shake Alexander's hand and thank him for his generosity and vision. But he humbly redirects the praise toward Emma, who he credits as the true driving force behind the center. Watching her interact with those she's dedicated her life to helping, he realizes just how deeply her compassion has touched him. She doesn't seek recognition or applause. Her joy lies solely in the people she serves. As the festivities continue, Alexander overhears people sharing stories of how the community center has already impacted their lives in small but meaningful ways. from job training that helped a father secure employment to the counseling sessions that helped a teenager find the courage to continue their education. It is in these moments that Alexander sees the full picture, realizing that wealth isn't about money, but about the legacy one leaves behind, the people one uplifts, and the hearts one touches. Emma's dream is now his own, and together they see the power of love and compassion coming to life before their eyes. That evening, as the celebration winds down and the last of the community members bid them good night, Alexander and Emma sit in the quiet of the center. The stillness is comforting, a reminder of the hard work that brought them to this point. Alexander turns to Emma and, with a depth of emotion he has rarely expressed, thanks her for coming into his life and showing him a path he could never have imagined. She smiles, squeezing his hand, and tells him that he has changed as much as the center has, transforming into a man of purpose and humility. Over the coming months, Alexander and Emma deepen their commitment to the community center, witnessing its impact grow beyond their wildest dreams. The center becomes a hub of positivity and transformation, a place where people find not only resources but a family, a community that uplifts them. Alexander's business connections come in handy as he attracts volunteers and donors, drawing in support that continues to fund new programs and opportunities for growth. For the first time, Alexander's wealth has a profound purpose, and each new donation or partnership feels like a gift from God, a divine approval of their mission. The joy and fulfillment Alexander experiences is unlike anything he has ever felt before, and he realizes that he is finally living a life aligned with something far greater than himself. He and Emma become known as pillars of the community, advocates for change, and friends to those who feel invisible or forgotten. Together, they start traveling to nearby cities, sharing their story and helping to inspire similar centers in other communities. People reach out, wanting to know how they can create the same hope and support in their own neighborhoods, and Alexander gladly shares his experiences, realizing that their impact is rippling outward. Emma, meanwhile, never stops dreaming, constantly finding ways to serve more people, and Alexander is by her side through every step. Their journey has brought them to a place of unity, a partnership built not only on love, but also on a shared calling that defines their lives. Alexander's heart swells with gratitude for Emma, who gave him a second chance to find meaning and purpose. She continues to be his guiding light, the one who showed him that true fulfillment lies not in accumulating wealth, but in using it to bless others. Alexander's transformation becomes a testimony of redemption, love, and the power of grace. In the end, their love and commitment to service extend beyond the community center itself. Alexander and Emma build a network of centers that grow to reach many towns and cities, and they train and inspire others to carry on the work. Alexander, once driven by ambition and material success, now measures his life by the people he has helped uplift. Looking back on his journey, he sees the beautiful tapestry woven from every encounter, every challenge, and every lesson that led him to this moment.